In this video, we're going to look at some principles of experimental design, some things to keep in mind when setting up experiments. The first one of these is controlling. And yes, that is kind of what it sounds like. It's being controlling of the smaller aspects of the study to hopefully minimize outside impacts. So we're going to try to control differences across individuals and across groups. This minimizes the impact of some confounding variables. So the little example I've got there is that within a study, we might have all participants take their treatment at the same time of day, regardless of what treatment group they're in. If they're in receiving some active treatment or if they're in the control group receiving the placebo. Um, Across the board, everybody's going to take their thing at the same time of day. So, this is controlling for the time of day. We're trying to make time of day not a factor in this experiment. Because in this experiment, let's say we were not trying to see the impact of time of day. We were trying to see whether our treatments were working or not. And so, if some people are taking their treatment first thing in the morning, others are taking it late in the afternoon, that might have changed some results. So, we're just going to knock that out and say, okay, everybody's taking it at the same time of day. That way, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, the next principle to look at is randomization. And this is basically the idea of random assignment, which we've defined. So, by randomly assigning individuals to treatment groups, that's going to help even out differences, kind of averages out some of the extreme cases or characteristics among individuals. And this is also going to help in minimizing bias. So, random assignment, randomization is just a good idea in your experimental studies. Next, we have replication. And that idea is that results need to be replicated or repeated to be more reliable and more trustworthy. So, replication can refer to observing more cases. So, we're repeating our results on a scale of individuals. So, you're replicating this result over more and more people or more and more objects, more and more cases. This is going to create a larger sample size, which we've mentioned a couple times. Larger sample sizes are generally considered to be better, more reliable in studies. So that's one way we can think of replication, or replication can refer to repeating the entire experiment. Um, so this is good for confirming earlier findings. So let's say a study has been done by some research group at a different institution, and you are a researcher at your own institution and you would like to replicate that study to see if you end up getting the same results as that other first group. If you end up getting the same results, that really lends credence to both of your findings that it's probably an accurate result and a well designed study. So, replication or repeating the same results is a good thing to have. Then the last principle here is the idea of blocking. And this is kind of another way to think about random assignment here. You can create groups of participants with similar characteristics and then do random assignment within each of those groups, or those would be called blocks. That's why it's blocking. So the textbook actually had a pretty good example for this. It was a study for, I believe it was some heart problem. And they split the individuals into low risk versus high risk blocks. So people who were at low risk of this heart problem versus high risk of the heart problem. And then within each block, They would do random assignment of those individuals to the treatment groups. So some people from the low risk group would get the treatment, some would get the placebo, some of the high risk people would get the treatment, some of the high risk people would get the placebo. So some from each block would go to each treatment group there. And that again would just kind of help even out the differences and make sure we got a good mix of low risk and high risk people in each area. So, all of these are really to just make your study more reliable and help you to achieve better results.